The gray VOR ship descended like a shadow, falling across the white land. It did not fire weapons. It did not need to. Its presence was the threat. It hovered silently over the frozen plain, a kilometer from Station Resilience. On the ground, the wind had died. The world felt like it was holding its breath. Inside the station, there was no panic. There was only work. Ji-hun and Kalen stood side by side in the control room of the small, hidden Norway facility, now connected by a secure line. The reactor, their hearth, was quiet, but the crystal focusing array was active, humming with a low, gathered power. "This will not work like the test," Kalen said, his opalescent skin flushed with nervous energy. "We are not calming a plasma. We must push back a starship's heart." "We know," Ji-hun said, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. "We are not trying to destroy. We are answering, just like you showed us." On the ground at Station Resilience, the main doors opened. Sumi, Yoonji, Min-soo, and Talon walked out into the biting cold. They wore no heavy suits. They stood in the open, small and fragile before the gigantic gray vessel. This was the plan. To meet force not with hiding, but with a face. A hatch opened on the underside of the VOR ship. A beam of harsh white light shot down, and 3 VOR figures descended, hovering on anti-gravity discs. They landed, their polished stone bodies reflecting the bleak landscape. The lead VOR envoy was the same one from the communication. Its lens-like eyes regarded the small group. "You have made a fatal error," the VOR stated, its voice empty. "Your defiance is illogical. You have primitive projectile weapons hidden in the ice. We have scanned them. They are irrelevant. Surrender the contaminants now, or we will extract them. Your station will be dismantled in the process." Sumi took a step forward. Her breath made a cloud in the air. "You are wrong. We are not defying you with weapons. We are answering you with a principle. The Keleth are under our protection. We will not move." The VOR made a sound like grinding pebbles. It was a sigh. "Then you will be moved, and you will be listed as a hazardous, irrational species." It raised a thin arm. Behind it, the VOR ship's hull shimmered, and a dozen smaller, pod-like craft detached, hovering like wasps. Extraction drones dot. This was the moment dot in Norway. Ji-hun gave the signal. "Now, Kalen." In the crystal chamber, the 12 Keleth, holding hands, focused. They did not think of attack. They thought of shelter, of the warm station walls, of June's drawings, of Min-soo's kindness. They thought of harmony. Their combined biofield, amplified and focused by the crystals and channeled through the reactor's powerful energy conduits, became a single coherent pulse. Not a weapon. Attuned dot, it was silent to human ears. But it was a wave of pure, ordered resonance, shot into the global communication network and beamed directly at the VOR ship. The effect was not an explosion. It was a stutter. The hovering drones wobbled in the air and dropped softly into the snow, their lights going dark. The harsh beam from the VOR ship flickered and died. On the VOR ship itself, the running lights along its hull pulsed erratically, then glowed with a strange, steady, golden light. The lead VOR envoy staggered. It looked at its own hand. The subtle glow of its internal systems, usually invisible, was now a visible, calm gold under its stone-like skin. What is this?" The flat voice finally held a note of something. Confusion. "You said their resonance was a hazard," Yoonji said, her voice clear and sharp in the quiet. "You are only half right. It is a hazard to chaos, to instability. It harmonizes violent energy. It seems your ship's drive core runs on a type of chaotic plasma, just like our old reactors did. The VOR looked up at its ship. The great vessel was not damaged. It was simply calm. Its weapons systems were offline. Its drive was idle. It was trapped in a bubble of perfect, forced stability. It could not fire. It could not flee. It was, for the first time, completely and utterly harmless. You used the contaminants. As a weapon, the VOR stammered. No, Talon said, stepping forward. His voice, translated, was strong. They used us as a friend, and together we offered you shelter from your own chaos. You are not destroyed. You are just invited to be still, to listen. The message was undeniable. The VOR ship, a symbol of galactic enforcement, hung powerless in the sky, wrapped in a gentle, golden light. Back on Earth, and across the Concorde's own networks where the image was broadcast, the truth was clear. The cursed ones and the primitive humans had not fought with bombs. They had won with an idea. The idea that what you exile, another might nurture. And what you nurture might change everything. The VOR ship left hours later, once the resonance pulse faded. It did not fire a shot. It simply retreated into the high atmosphere and vanished into warp space. The message it sent to the Concorde before leaving was short. The Earth-Kelith symbiosis has mastered the resonance. They pose no hazard. They redefine it. Containment is impossible. Reassessment required. On Earth, the celebration was quiet, deep, and full of relief. They had not won a war. They had passed a test. Weeks later, at the edge of Station Resilience, a new structure was being built. It was not just a human station or a Kelith shelter. It was a joint embassy, the first of its kind. The materials were a mix of Earth steel and Kelith crystal. It glittered in the low Arctic sun. Ji-hun and Talon stood watching the construction. The sky was clear, and the first stars were appearing. They will be back, you know, Talon said softly. But not with ships next time. With ambassadors. With questions. Let them come, Ji-hun said, smiling. We have answers now. And we have friends to help us find more. Nearby, Min-Su and Elara were planting a small heated garden, testing Kelith seeds in earth soil. Yoon-ji and Kalin were designing a new medical scanner based on resonance imaging. June was chasing Rin through the snow. The little Kelith boy's laughter, sounding like wind chimes. Sumi walked up to join Ji-hun and Talon. She looked at the bustling sight, at the two species working side by side. It is a strange thing, she said. The galaxy gave us its outcasts, thinking it was making itself safer. It gave us its problem. Talon looked at her, his large eyes reflecting the starlight. And what did you do with its problem? Sumi put a hand on his shoulder, and another on Ji-hun's. We didn't solve it, she said. We made it family. And in return, family gave us the stars. Above them, the universe stretched out, vast and cold and full of lonely lights. But on this one small world, a new light was shining. Not the harsh light of weapons or warnings, but the warm, combined glow of a shared hearth. It was a small light, but it was enough. It was a beacon, and it was a home. Exiled by the galaxy, they had found shelter on Earth, and in that shelter, they had all found something better. They had found a future. The secret could not stay a secret for long. They called it Project Hearth. In a remote, heavily guarded facility in Norway, far from Station Resilience, a small team worked. They were not building a weapon. They were rebuilding the future. Using the designs of the failed Da Vinci reactor, they created a new core chamber. This one had a special room next to it, lined with crystals from the Kelith homeworld that had been salvaged from their broken ship. The crystals, Kalin explained, focused their natural resonance. A team of 12 Kelith volunteers led by Kalen and Ilara, worked with human engineers. They were not test subjects. They were partners. They helped design the focusing array. They practiced together, learning to harmonize their biofields to create a single, calm wave of stabilizing energy. Months passed. The world's news moved on to other things. The alien refugees were old news. But in the underground facility in Norway, something new was being born. The day of the first full test arrived. The reactor core hummed, containing a miniature sun. The plasma surged wildly, as it always did. Then, in the chamber next door, the Kelith began. They did not use machines. They focused their minds, their calm, their shared intention. A soft, golden light seemed to glow from the crystal array. On the monitors, the violent, jagged lines of the plasma surge smoothed into gentle, rolling hills. The containment field held perfectly. The reactor achieved stable fusion for 1 hour, then 2, then 10. It was a success beyond anyone's dreams. Clean, limitless energy made possible not by human genius alone, but by human and Kelith harmony. Someone, for money or for ideology, told the story. It leaked to the press. The headline spread across the globe. Exiled aliens unlock unlimited energy for Earth. The world erupted. This time, not in curiosity or fear, but in wonder and hope. People celebrated. But in the quiet offices of governments, a colder understanding took hold. If Earth had this, then Earth was no longer a quiet backwater. It was a player, and it had broken a galactic rule by sheltering the cursed ones. The ship arrived 2 weeks later. It did not come from the direction of the stars. It simply appeared, hanging in high orbit over the Indian Ocean. It was sleek, gray, and silent. It made no signal. It was just there, a silent knife in the sky. It was a VOR enforcement vessel. The VOR were the bureaucrats and policemen of the Galactic Concord Dot in Station Resilience. The warning came through from Space Command. Director Sumi in Seoul called an emergency meeting with Jihyun, Yoonji, and Talon. The Concord knows, Sumi said. Her face on the screen was grim. They have demanded a private communication channel. They are giving us 1 hour to respond. The message, when it came, was not violent. It was worse. It was perfectly, coldly reasonable. The being on the screen was a Vor. It looked like a tall, thin insect made of polished gray stone. Its eyes were dark lenses. It did not blink. People of Earth, it said, its voice a flat, translated tone. You have made an error. You have harbored entities designated as contaminants. The Kelith resonance is a Class 7 galactic hazard. By providing them shelter, and it appears, amplifying their anomalous function, you have violated Concord Statute 44. Jihyun spoke for Earth. They are not contaminants. They are people. And their anomalous function is now helping us create clean energy. It is a gift. The gift is irrelevant, the VOR replied, without any emotion. The risk is absolute. Their presence introduces instability into the galactic technological framework. You will surrender all Kelith individuals to our custody immediately. They will be taken to a secure facility for permanent neutralization. A chill went through the room. Neutralization? Yoonji asked, her voice tight. The process is painless, the VOR stated. Once they are removed, Earth will be placed on a probationary list. Your new energy technology, derived from a hazard, will be confiscated and erased. This is not a negotiation. Comply or face consequences. The screen went dark. Panic, slow and cold, spread across the planet. The hopeful headlines turned to fear. Galactic police demand our surrender. Some politicians and talking heads on TV began to argue. It is them or us. We cannot fight the galaxy. Hand them over. Su-mi felt the pressure like a physical weight. The calls came from world leaders. Some begged her to comply. Others were silent, waiting to see what she would do. She went to the main hall of Station Resilience, where all the humans and Keleth had gathered. The fear in the room was a thick smell. The Keleth looked broken. This was their life. They found a home, and now a bigger, colder power was coming to take it away. Talon's head was bowed. He looked up at Su-mi, expecting the order to leave, to give themselves up to save their protectors. Su-mi stepped onto a small platform. She did not have a loud voice, but the room went quiet. For all of human history, she began, we have defined strength in one way. The strength of weapons. The strength of walls. The strength to keep others out. She looked at the Keleth. But there is another kind of strength. The strength to take someone in. The strength to share your fire when the night is cold for everyone. She paused, her eyes moving from Jihan's determined face to Yoonji's hardened one, to Minsu's gentle worry, to June standing protectively near little Rin. The galaxy, she continued, her voice growing stronger, exiled our friends for what they could break. We sheltered them for who they are. And in doing so, we discovered what they could build, what we could build together. They do not ask for our protection today. They expect us to hand them over, because that is all the universe has ever done. She looked directly at the camera that was broadcasting her speech, live to the world. But we are not the universe. We are Earth, and today we answer. We do not surrender our guests. We do not betray our friends. We do not give up our future because someone with a bigger ship tells us to be afraid. A tear rolled down Talon's cheek. He was not afraid anymore. He was feeling something he had no word for. Su-mi took a deep breath. Her final words were not shouted. They were a promise. The VOR have given us an ultimatum. Our answer is no. If the galaxy wants a fight, they will find that we have learned a new way to stand. Together. The silence in the room broke into a sound, not a cheer, but a deep, collective breath of resolve. On Earth, in cities and homes, people watched. And in that moment, the fear turned. It did not disappear. It became a choice to stand with the outcasts. The poles shifted. The world, inspired by the simple, stubborn courage of Station Resilience, chose to stand. The message was sent to the gray ship in orbit. A single word, no. The VOR ship did not reply. It simply began to move, descending from high orbit, a silent promise of force, heading towards the frozen north, where the exiles had found their shelter. The shelter had become a shield, and now it was about to be tested. The station settled into a strange, quiet rhythm. The plastic quarantine walls were gone. The Keleth now moved freely through certain sections of Station Resilience, wearing borrowed human clothes that were too big for their thin frames. The fear was still there, but it was slowly being covered by the ordinary work of living. They helped clean. They learned to use the food heaters. Elara, the historian, spent hours with the station's computer, showing it her people's art and music, feeding Earth's databases the story of the Shui of the Ka-Il Ith. Minsu. The exobiologist spent most of his time with them. He was fascinated not by their curse, but by their biology. He noticed small things. How their skin shimmered more brightly when they were calm. How the soft hum from their bodies, which made lights flicker, would sometimes become almost musical when several Keleth sat together quietly. One afternoon, he was running a simple scan on Kalen, the engineer. It was a routine check on his healed leg. The scanner was a small handheld device. As Minsu moved it, the device's screen, which usually showed clear lines of data, suddenly smoothed out. The numbers stopped jumping. They became perfectly steady. That is odd, Min-Su muttered. He thought the device was broken. He tapped it. He moved it away from Kalen. The numbers jumped again. He moved it back. They stabilized. Kalen, are you doing anything? Feeling anything? Kalen looked nervous. I am sorry. Is it the resonance? I am trying to be still. No, it is good. Min-Su said, his eyes wide. It is making my scanner work better. He called Ji-hun over. Look at this. His biofield? It is not just causing interference. In this case, it is canceling out the electronic noise in my device. It is creating a zone of perfect stability. Ji-hun, the astrophysicist, looked at the data. His mind, used to thinking about big forces and energy patterns, made a sudden, huge leap. A zone of stability. He whispered. He turned and almost ran to the station's communication room, where Yoonji was looking over reports. Yoonji, the fusion project, the Da Vinci reactor, Ji-hun said, his words tumbling out fast. Yoonji looked up, annoyed. What about it? It failed. Again. The plasma surge melted the third containment ring last month. It is a dead project. But why does it fail? Ji-hun asked, pulling up the data on a wall screen. It showed a simulation of the reactor core. A ball of superhot plasma, like a tiny sun, twisted and danced inside a magnetic cage. Then, a wave of unstable energy, called a plasma surge, broke out and burned through the wall. The problem is control. The plasma becomes chaotic. Our magnetic fields cannot hold the instability. And, Yoonji said, not seeing the connection. And what if the Calip's resonance could calm it? Ji-hun said, his voice full of excitement. Not by accident, not as a curse. On purpose. If their field can stabilize the noise in a small scanner, could a stronger, focused field dampen a chaotic energy surge? Yoonji stared at him, then at the data from Min-Su's scanner. Her scientific mind, always looking for threats, began to look for possibilities instead. It is a crazy idea, she said slowly. But the data is there. The effect is real. She stood up. We would need to test it. A small-scale test. And we would need their help. Their willing, understanding help. Talking to Talon about it was difficult. They sat in a small meeting room. Ji-hun, Yoonji, and Min-Su explained their idea. They showed pictures of the reactor. They explained plasma.tel. Ian listened, his face growing sad. You see? This is our life. You look at us and you see a tool. A way to fix your machine. The Concord saw us as a broken tool. You see us as a useful one. It is still the same. Ji-hun felt a cold shame. But Min-Su leaned forward. No, Talon. You are wrong. We did not look for a tool. We looked at our friend Kalen, and we saw that his very nature did something beautiful by accident. We are not asking to use you. We are asking if you would like to explore your own ability with us. To see if what the galaxy calls a curse could be used to do good. The choice is yours, always. There was a long silence. Then Talon said, Let me discuss it with my people. The Caliph gathered in their living area. Talon explained the humans' request. Many were afraid. They will put us in a machine. It will hurt us. One cried, but Kalen, the engineer, stood up. His leg was better now. For my whole life, he said, I hid this part of myself. I made myself small so I would not break things. The humans looked at that same part and asked if it could build something, not if it would break something. They are asking us to help, not just to stay out of the way. Elara nodded. They gave us shelter when no one else would. They see our story. Perhaps Perhaps we can help write a new chapter. Not about exile, but about purpose. In the end, they agreed to a small, safe test. The test was set up in a shielded lab deep inside the station. It was not a real reactor. It was a simulator, a device that created a tiny, contained ball of unstable plasma, like the heart of the big reactor, but no bigger than a grapefruit. The problem was the same. Little surges of energy would spike out from it. Kalen volunteered. He stood behind a thick safety screen. He was nervous. Across the room, behind another screen, June gave him a thumbs up. The simple human gesture made Kalen feel a little better. "Begin the sequence," Yoonji said from the control room. The simulator hummed to life. On the monitors, a bright, twisting knot of energy appeared. It jumped and flared. Warning lights flashed as small surges hit the containment field. "Now, Kalen," Minsu's gentle voice said over the speaker. "Just like we practiced. Be calm. Focus not on stopping it, but on surrounding it, gently." Kalen closed his eyes. He did not fight his own nature. He let the quiet hum inside him grow. He thought of calm things, of the soft songs of his home. He focused on the jumping light on the other side of the screen, not with fear, but with a feeling of wanting to soothe it. The monitors showed the chaotic plasma. The spiking lines of energy began to smooth. The bright knot became less wild. It pulsed gently, like a calm heartbeat. The warning lights stopped flashing in the control room. The scientists watched in stunned silence. The plasma had never been so stable in any test. Ever. "It is working," Ji-hun whispered, his face full of wonder. "It is really working." Yoon-ji looked at the data, and at Kellen's focused face behind the screen. She was not seeing a tool or a curse. She was seeing a person doing an incredible thing. A person who had been thrown away by the universe, now creating perfect order from chaos. Her last bit of professional suspicion melted away, replaced by a deep, profound respect. The test ended. The simulator powered down. Kalen opened his eyes, exhausted but smiling. He walked out to a room full of quiet humans. June was the first to move. He walked over and put a hand on Kellen's shoulder. "That was amazing," he said, his voice full of honest admiration. For the Keleth, the feeling was overwhelming. They were used to causing problems and being blamed. Here, they had solved the problem and were being thanked. It was a reversal of their entire existence. That evening, Rin, the little boy, brought June a new drawing. It showed a Keleth figure with lines of light coming from its hands, touching a big, round machine. Inside the machine was a happy, smiling sun. June pinned it to the wall in the control room. It was a child's picture, but it was also a symbol. The curse was not a curse anymore. It was a gift, and Earth had been the place where they were finally allowed to open it. The air in the Canadian Arctic was so cold it hurt to breathe. It was a flat, white world under a pale gray sky. The wind blew sharp ice crystals that felt like needles. A small group of people waited, wrapped in thick parkas that made them look like colorful lumps against the snow. They stood near a collection of low, tough-looking buildings. This was Station Resilience. A man named Minsu checked his scanner. His face was mostly covered by a fur-lined hood, but his eyes were kind and worried. "Any sign of them?" he asked. Next to him, a woman named Yoon-ji watched the sky. Her posture was stiff, her arms crossed. She was a doctor, a virologist. Her job was to protect Earth from alien germs. She did not look hopeful. "They are late." Their ship was barely holding together. "They are probably a cloud of ice and metal by now." "Be nice, Yoon-ji," Minsu said softly. "They asked for help." "That is what worries me," she replied, her voice flat. High above, the broken ship entered the atmosphere. The solace seeker shook violently. Alarms that had been quiet for days started screaming again. The Keleth inside held on to anything they could. The heat outside the ship glowed orange in the windows. Talon closed his eyes. They had survived the cold of space. Would they burn up now, so close to safety? With a final, terrible shudder, the ship broke through the clouds. The pilot, following the human instructions, aimed for the wide, flat white area below. The landing gears, damaged and weak, unfolded with a grinding sound. Then there was a loud crunch. A jolt threw everyone forward. The world outside the windows spun and then went still. The only sound was the ping of hot metal cooling in the freezing air, and the soft cries of scared Keleth children. They had landed, but they had crashed. Inside Station Resilience, the monitors lit up. "They are down," Ji-hun yelled from the control room. He had come from Seoul to be here. His hands were clenched. Heavy impact. I am reading multiple hull breaches. Life signs are weak. Yoonji was already moving. Quarantine Protocol Alpha. No one touches them until I say. Suit up. Full biocontainment. She looked at the others. Her eyes were hard. This is not a rescue mission yet. This is a scientific investigation. Remember that. A team of 5 people, wrapped in big white plastic suits with clear face shields, moved out onto the ice. They drove in a special vehicle with big tires. The crashed ship was a dark, smoking scar on the perfect white. It looked small and sad. A hole was torn in its side. Eung went first. Her suit crunched on the snow. She carried a scanner. Min-soo followed her, carrying a medical kit. Ji-hun came next, then 2 soldiers named Jun and Hana, who were there for security. Eun-G peered through the torn metal into the dark ship. Her helmet light cut through the dust floating in the air. She saw shapes huddled together. Shiny skin. Large, reflective eyes looking back at her, full of fear. "Hello," Yoonji said, her voice made flat by the suit's speaker. "We are from Earth. Can you understand me?" For a moment, nothing. Then, a tall figure stepped forward. It was Talon. He swayed a little. He held up a small device. A voice, mechanical but clear, came from it. "We understand. I am Talon. My people are injured. Please." Doonji's scanner beeped as she pointed it at him. "My device says you have no harmful bacteria or viruses we know. But your body is giving off a low energy signal. What is it?" Talon looked down. "It is us. It is why we are exiled. Our bodies sometimes react with technology. It is not a sickness. It is what we are." Yoonji did not look convinced. "We will see. You must all come with us. One by one. We must check you." It was a slow, difficult process. The Keleth were weak. Many could not walk. The humans used stretchers to carry them into the vehicle. The Keleth flinched at the bright lights and the strange white suits. They were terrified, but they did not fight. Inside Station Resilience, a large hangar had been turned into a quarantine zone. Clear plastic walls divided it into sections. The Keleth were gently placed on clean beds. Heaters blew warm air. The humans in their suits moved around, taking scans, checking pulses. Min-soo was with a young Keleth male whose leg was hurt. The Keleth, named Kalen, winced as Min-soo touched his leg. "It is okay," Min-soo said, his voice gentle even through the speaker. "I am here to help." He gave Kalen a shot for the pain. Kalen watched the needle with wide eyes, then relaxed as the medicine worked. He looked at Min-soo. Confused by the kindness, Ji-hun tried to talk to Talon, who sat on a bed, watching everything. "Your ship?" We will try to save what we can. Ji-hun said. Ta-ele nodded slowly. Thank you. It is all we have left. Meanwhile, Yoon-ji was busy. She took blood samples. She studied the scanner data. The energy signal was strange. It was like a quiet hum. It made the lights in the quarantine zone flicker very softly. It made her tablet computer glitch for a second. She frowned. This was the curse. It was real. News of the aliens spread on Earth. The world watched on screens. Some people felt sorry for the thin, shiny people in the plastic quarantine zone. Other people were very afraid. On the internet, people wrote crazy stories. They will change our weather. Their signal will poison our minds. Some governments demanded that the Keleth be sent away immediately. Inside the station, the humans felt this pressure. They worked in shifts. June, the young soldier, was on guard duty outside the plastic wall. He watched the Keleth. He saw how they helped each other. He saw an older Keleth woman, Elara, comforting a child. She was singing a soft, sad song. It was not so different from a lullaby his own mother sang. During a break, June was drawing in a small notebook. He liked to draw birds. A Keleth child, a little boy named Rin, slowly walked up to the clear plastic. He pointed at the notebook. June held it up. It's a bird, he said, knowing the child probably did not understand. Rin tilted his head. He then pointed at June, and then at the drawing, and made a questioning sound. He wants to know if you made it, a translated voice said. Talon was nearby, holding his translation device. June smiled. Yes, I drew it. He took a clean piece of paper and a pen. He slid it under a small gap in the plastic seal, along with another pen. Rin looked at Talon, who nodded. The little boy picked up the pen carefully. He looked at June's bird, then started to draw. His lines were shaky, but he drew a creature with 3 wings and a long tail. He held it up. June laughed. It's great. Better than mine. It was a small moment, but it was the first real connection. It was not scientist to subject. It was not guard to prisoner. It was just 2 beings sharing a picture. Days passed. The Keleth grew stronger with food and rest. The humans started to take off their big white suits, wearing just masks and gloves. The air inside the station began to change. Eun-ji sat at her desk, looking at all her tests. Min-soo came over. Well, are we all going to catch the galactic flu? Yoon-ji sighed. No, their biology is compatible. Too compatible in some ways. Their curse is just a biological energy field. It is weak, but it interacts with unshielded electronics. It is not an illness. It is a fact, like having a certain color of eyes. So, they are safe? Min-soo asked. Safe to be near? Yes, Yoon-ji said. But the problem is bigger than germs, Min-soo. The world is scared. And that signal from their bodies. It is a problem for our machines. That night, the station had a small power surge. The lights went off for a full minute. When the backup power came on, everyone was quiet. The Keleth looked terrified, huddled together. They thought the humans would now be angry, would blame them. Ji-hun went into the quarantine zone. He did not wear a mask. He walked up to Talon. We are not sending you away, he said, clearly and slowly. A power surge is just a problem. We fix problems. That is what we do. Talon stared at him. No one in the galaxy had ever said such a thing. The rule was, the Keleth cause a problem, so the Keleth must leave. This human said they would fix it together. Eun-ji watched from the doorway. She saw the fear on the Keleth faces. She saw the determination on Ji-hun's. She looked at her hands. hands that wanted to protect Earth by building walls. For the first time, she wondered if there was another way. The ice of suspicion was still there, but under the constant, quiet warmth of shared space, it was beginning, just beginning, to thaw. The darkness near Jupiter was very deep and very cold. It was a quiet part of space, far from the busy lanes the rest of the galaxy used. This was why the ship came here. It was not a welcome visitor anywhere else. The ship was called the Solace Seeker. It was a bad name now. There was no solace to find. The ship was broken. Long marks were burned along its silver sides. One engine was completely dark. The other sparked with a sad, weak light. Inside, the lights were dim. A soft blue glow came from the walls, but it was fading, like a dying heartbeat. The people inside were the Kelith. They looked a bit like humans, but their skin had a soft shine to it, like the inside of a seashell. Their eyes were large and dark, made for the gentle light of their lost home world. Now, those eyes were full of tired fear. They moved slowly, their bodies weak. They wore simple, gray clothes. They were not warriors. They were teachers, growers, builders. And they were exiled. Their leader was named Talon. He stood on the command platform, his thin hands resting on a broken control panel. He was not old, but he felt ancient. The last 3-star systems had shot warning lasers at them. The message was always the same. Cursed ones, you are not permitted. Leave or be destroyed. The curse was not evil. It was a part of them, a quiet energy in their blood. It reacted with the cores of most starships, sometimes making drives fail or lights flicker. The Galactic Concord, the big government of many spacefaring species, called it a dangerous flaw. They said the Kelith were a risk to space travel. So they were cast out. Every door was closed. Leader Talon, a soft voice said. It was Alara, their historian. She held a data crystal, the story of their people. The last jump, it used all our power. The drive is dead. We are floating. Talon nodded. He looked at the main screen. It showed a giant planet with swirling bands of orange and white. Jupiter. And there, a smaller blue and white marble. Earth. It was not on the main star maps. It was a quiet, low-technology world. A forgotten place. Do we have any options? Talon asked, already knowing the answer. A younger Kelith, an engineer named Kalen, shook his head. His hands were stained with something dark from trying to fix the engine. No, life support will fail in 2 of their planetary rotations. We have no food, no way to jump again. He paused. They will find us here, floating and dead. And they will say the curse finally killed us. A heavy silence filled the room. Then, Talon looked at the blue planet. A desperate, foolish idea came to him. Send a signal, he said. To who? Kalen asked. The Concord will hear it. They will come to finish the job. Not to them, Talon said, pointing to Earth. To them. A general distress call. On all frequencies they might use. A plea for shelter. For mercy. It is a terrible risk, Ilara whispered. What choice do we have? Talon's voice was quiet but firm. To die quietly? Or to ask for a kindness no one else has given? Send the signal. On Earth, in a busy underground room in Seoul, a scientist named Jihan was drinking bad coffee. He was looking at lines of data on his screen. He worked for the UN Emergency Committee for Extraterrestrial Monitoring. It was a fancy name for a very boring job. Most days, they listened to empty space. His boss was a woman named Sumi. She was sharp, always moving, and had no time for foolishness. She walked over to his desk. Anything, Jian? Or are you just staring at static again? Just static, Director, Ji-hun said with a small smile. The universe is being very quiet today. As he said it, his screen flashed red. A sharp, electronic sound beeped loudly. Ji-hun almost spilled his coffee. Lines of strange symbols, mixed with bursts of image and sound, flooded his monitor. It was a signal. A powerful, messy, desperate signal. "Sumi!" He called out. She was at his side in seconds. The whole room was suddenly buzzing. People ran to their stations. The signal was being picked up by other listening posts in Australia, in Chile, in Canada. "It's a distress call," Ji-hun said, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "Multiple frequencies. Audio, visual. It's repeating. The computer is trying to break the language." A shaky image formed on the main screen. It showed a room with dim blue light. A being with shiny skin and large, sad eyes looked out at them. The being spoke. The words were strange, but the feeling was clear. It was fear and exhaustion, and a last bit of hope. "We are the Caliph. Our vessel is broken. Our people are sick. We have been turned away. We ask for shelter. We ask for a place to not die." The image broke apart into static again. The room was silent. Then, everyone started talking at once. Where are they? What are they? Is this a trick? Ji-hun was already working with the data. Trajectory analysis. Coming from the Jupiter orbital zone. Their ship's signature is weak. They are just floating there. Sumi's face was serious. She picked up a secure phone. "I need to call New York now." The next hours were a storm of meetings. Leaders from many countries argued on video screens. Some were scared. They say they were turned away. "Why? What is wrong with them?" shouted one general. Another official looked worried. "A broken ship near Earth? It could be a trap. A trick to get close to us." Ji-hun was asked to speak. His heart was beating fast. He showed them the data. Their ship has no weapons that we can see. Their power signature is fading. They are telling the truth. They are dying. A European ambassador asked, "And this galactic concord that exiled them? If we help them, will these advanced aliens be angry with us? Will they come here?" That was the biggest fear. The fear of attracting the attention of a powerful, unknown galaxy. Sumi listened to all of it. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was calm, but strong. "For centuries, we have looked at the stars and wondered if we are alone. We have wondered what we would do if someone came asking for help. This is that moment. They are not asking for our weapons. They are not asking for our technology. They are asking for shelter. For mercy. If we say no, we are telling the universe that Earth is a place without compassion. Is that who we are?" The arguments went on. But Sumi and Ji-hun and others like them kept pushing. They proposed a plan. A harsh, safe plan. They would not let the ship land in a city or even on a continent. They would guide it to the most remote, controlled place they could manage. "We will offer a landing zone," Sumi said to the committee. "A place where they can be met, helped, and studied without risk to our population. The tundra in northern Canada. It is isolated. It is secure." After more arguing, the vote passed. It was very close. Back in Seoul, Ji-hun sent the reply. A simple message with coordinates and landing instructions. It was not a warm welcome. It was a set of rules. But it was a chance. In the broken Solace Seeker, the communication panel lit up. A new signal in a simple digital code. Kalen decoded it. They answered, he whispered, his voice full of disbelief. He put the message on the screen. Coordinates. A landing path. Instructions for a place called Canadian Arctic Archipelago. Talon read it. There were many conditions, many warnings. But it was an answer. It was a yes. A feeling like a soft wind went through the ship. It was not joy. It was the heavy, aching feeling of a burden being shared, just a little. Set the course, Talon said. The last working engine sputtered to life. The broken ship turned slowly, pointing its nose toward the distant blue world. They were no longer just floating. They were going somewhere. For the first time in a long time, the Keleth had a destination. It was a frozen, unknown land. But it was a place. And for now, that was enough. The long, cold exile was not over. But perhaps, just perhaps, it was about to change.